Oh, so great to be in your company as we look forward to round 5 of the Premier League. Wonderful to be in the company of Darren Lewis and Tim Sherwood. Treated tonight, but 2 favourites of the show. I want to start with something that's been making the waves, making the rounds on social media. I thought this was hilarious. I know we had such a big weekend of football, but this really stole the show. Check this out if you haven't seen it yet. Because, Darren, I think we agree, the North London derby was won in the tunnel. Absolutely.
Well, in the end, it turned out to be child's play for Arsenal, but it was before the game as well, because Arsenal really effectively sorting Spurs out, really. And that's exactly what that young lad did. Here he is again. Hands on his shoulders, puffing out his chest. That's exactly what Arsenal did on the day, Tim.
Yeah, I mean, we used to do that. I'll tell you, in the North London derby, we used to do that. When the players come out, it wasn't cameras then in the tunnel. We had to try and find an edge. And as soon as Arsenal come out of that dressing room, that was me with the players, trying to abuse them and trying to get an edge, trying to get them to bite, see if I can put them off their game. Didn't work very often.
I want to say we're surprised, but I don't think we are.
No, he was a bit bolshy, wasn't he?
I love that.
Yeah, a bit like Arsenal at the moment.
Yeah,
Hard to break down.
Yeah, well, they had a big away day in the North London derby. They've got a big away day this weekend as well. As we mentioned, it is Manchester City against Arsenal. So we're going to hear from the 2 managers then. City versus Arsenal. The master against the apprentice. Mikel Arteta says Arsenal are going to the Etihad to win, while Pep Guardiola has been discussing Arsenal's strong defence.
Afternoon, guys. Hope you're well. Same process ever with Max on either side. We'll set an embargo partway through, actually towards the end for the Sundays, at 10:30 on Saturday evening. Simon, please.
Hi, Pep. First of all, could you just update us on Kevin De Bruyne, please, and if he'll be fit?
He feels today a little bit better, but not yet. 2 days off. Tomorrow we're training, and we'll see.
So he could be involved, but you
could be.
I know it's very early in the season, but what can you learn about your team, about Arsenal, by playing a game of this magnitude at this point?
Always have been a tight games last years, apparently because I think we are a good team, but they are good too. They do many good things in all the aspects, in high pressing, in defending deep, in transitions, and it's a absolutely complete team. That's why I have been the biggest rival in the last 2 seasons, and early stage of the season, I would say. So nothing more than the mood for the next games, the influence for the next games. But in terms of table and everything, it's not much important. It will be important when we will go to London in the second part of the season.
Hi, Pep. Obviously, Arsenal have been one of your closest challengers in recent times. Do you feel that they are at their strongest now that they've ever been when you've been going head-to-head?
Every season is stronger, yeah. Depth squad and add more players and top quality, yeah. Every season is even better and even better.
What have you seen as a key development in Mikel Arteta's side then that makes you believe that they are?
You can ask him, because if I say something, they will say that I'm playing mind games or something like that. Always I have a highly opinion about him, his team. Everybody knows that he grew up as a team year by year, so there's no doubt about that. And both years have been close, but we have been so strong as well. And still we are strong and looking for the game.
You can play mind games if you want to.
No, I'm not good on that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
When you won the title last season, Rodri was asked what the difference between City and Arsenal was, and he said he felt it came down to mentality. I think when he played in the March, he said, I saw them and said, these guys, they don't want to beat us, they just want to draw. And he says that mentality, I don't think we would do it the same way. Do you feel there's still a difference mentality-wise?
No.
You don't agree with Rodri and stuff there? And Arsenal, you think there's been a growth then in where they're at mentally?
But not now, 4 years ago. No.
Hi, Pep. In recent years, we've seen quite a lot of high-scoring games between the teams at the top of the table. Last year, you and Arsenal, it was 1-0 and 0-0. Do you think that's maybe the way things are going to go more, or are you expecting something similar?
Similar.
And is that do you feel a sort of trend in football back towards those top games being really, really tight?
To score goals, you can score from many different aspects. In the set piece, it's not easy because they are so tall, taller than us. In the transitions, her backwards are quicker than our transitions offensive. And when we are able to set them back, and they are so strong defensively, they accumulate a lot of players that the modern football, the strikers forget about it to go to the strikers, they go to our holding midfielders. So the gap between the spaces, we saw against Inter. So they defend the space, they have incredible defensively with the runners in the channels inside, being defensive with the people in the middle. So Saliba and Gabriel, they are incredible focus with Erling all the time. So it's not 1 against 1, it's always 2 against 1, sometimes 3 against 1. So that's why it's difficult to attack them. So they didn't, I think in 24 they didn't lose away. I think they draw just 1 game against us, they won it. So it's not just 1 game or 2 games. There are many games. They are be solid, consistent in that. They don't concede goals, and the opponents create much options of that. So that's why you have to try to read well the way we have to do it. And at the same time, I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to play the game. And in every game is a chance to get in better or play better or do it better than the game before. And as much you play when the opponent, they are consistent and doing similar things, always you have a chance to improve some aspects. So it's a chance for us. We play at home, and hopefully we can do a good performance.
Yeah.
Hi, Pep. Mikel said on Wednesday that his captain Martin Odegaard is going to be out for a period of time. And how do you think his absence will impact the game on Sunday?
I'm so sorry for him. Always I like to play with the biggest, the toughest squad. Of course, he's an important player, but when year by year Arsenal is getting better, it's because they invest a lot with the depth squad, to have more players ability. When you have, during the long season, you have problems with the injured suspensions, bad forms or whatever, and always you have the depth squad helps you to notice. But he's a captain from Arsenal, and everybody knows how important and how good player, an exceptional player he is.
And also there's been some talk before the game now that you played home against Inter on a Wednesday, while Arsenal had to go to Bergamo, Atalanta for the away game on Thursday, with a difference in restitution and all these kinds of things. What is your take on that?
It's an advantage, but I'm going to make a list in the last 6 years how many times we were in disadvantage against the tough opponents when we have less days of recovery. I have a huge list to show you, but of course it's a little bit advantage.
Hi, Pep. Arsenal signed Raheem Sterling on the deadline day last year. I think it sort of came as a bit of a surprise to some people, but what will he bring to their squad? Is obviously playing.
Well, I hear Mikel that said it was surprised for him as well. Didn't expect to hire Raheem. So I wish him all the best. I said many times, for all the players that behave unbelievably in this club, that help us unbelievably to be who we are, to what we are. So we cannot understand the first period, the first years in my tenure here, in our tenure here, in our time here without Raheem. So have been so important. I wish him all the best. Of course, I would prefer don't perform well tomorrow on Sunday, but of course I wish him all the best.
We are to the home of the champions, the team that I think in the Premier League history has been the most consistent ever, not only in terms of result, but in terms of dominance and consistent top performance, I think without question of a doubt. And this is the challenge, that we go there and we have to prove that again we have made another step and we can compete and win in those rounds. It's great to give back because you know individually how much people invest, their time, their money, effort, travel. And when you are able to give something away from home, it becomes really special. That's what it's a special atmosphere when we play away from home and how our supporters are living the game. So really pleased that consistently we've been able to give a lot back.
This is an interesting one, Tim, because we know that Manchester City have had the better of Arsenal. It's not been a happy hunting ground for the Gunners there. Arteta saying going there to win. But last time around, they went there, they were happy with the goalless draw, and Rodri actually mentioned that. He said that was the difference in the two sides, in the title chase, the mentality.
Rodri's trying to entice them out to come and play. Pep normally does that with different managers as well. We saw him do it with Thomas Frank at Brentford, saying how open they play and how brave they are and trying to big up the manager. Mikel Arteta is not listening to that. He's had enough time with Pep Guardiola to know he will go there and do what he thinks is going to be right. If you offered Arteta a draw now, the same as what they got last season, he would rip your hands off for it, I'm telling you. Away from home, he would rip your hands off. Man City we know how they're going to play. They're going to play one way. It's the only way they want to play, and it's been successful for them. If you're Arsenal and you want to win the Premier League, you have to go and take maximum points off Man City, and you can't rely on anyone else to get the points off them. So you have to do it yourself, Darren.
100%, you do. And I think taking responsibility is going to be a theme of Sunday's game, because last time around, Arsenal didn't really show enough personality. They looked as though they were going there to not lose, whereas they've got to go there and try to win. 5 points at this stage of the season, obviously 70 games to go, whatever else. It's a long, long way. But if you give City a 5-point gap, given that they come good in the second half of the season, your chances are going to reduce greatly. What I think is going to happen in the match is that certainly I'm going to take Haaland out of my fantasy team, because I don't think he'll score. I think he'll occupy the two centre-halves, and I think the goal will come from midfield. Now, we've got a title-winning midfielder right here who will know all about the impact of not having Rice and Odegaard in the middle of the Arsenal midfield. That's going to cost them big time, Arsenal big time, because City's midfield is outstanding. Yeah.
Well, Rice comes back because of the suspension will be over, but Odegaard is a big miss. He's a huge miss because of creating chances. We saw it in midweek there as well against Atlanta. We know they're solid. I think they've got the best back five in the league. You know, they're very solid. They have protection in front when Declan's there. But what they lack is Odegaard's control. He takes control of the ball. He allows Saka to make runs. He finds him with passes. Martinelli's been poor. I think Kai Havertz lives off Odegaard's service as well. He's going to be a huge miss. So you wouldn't blame Arsenal going there looking for just a point, because some of their most creative players, certainly with Odegaard, is going to be missing. Now, they can find a solution. Anything can happen. They're talking about world-class players on both sides here. But the way Haaland has started the season, I agree with Darren. I think up against them two, Gabriel and Saliba, because he will occupy them both. It might be, you know, if Kevin De Bruyne is out missing, it might be they need goals from elsewhere and someone else. I know Foden come on last week. Rodri will automatically start in the middle of the pitch. So I think he can't just worry about scoring at the weekend. He needs to realise he's doing a job for the team. He's taking Gabriel and Saliba out of the way for other players to have the space to be able to create. It's not, the winner's not going to come from this man, but he can play a massive role for the team, and it might go unnoticed to the untrained eye watching at home, but he will play a huge part, because straight away in their minds, when they're asleep and they're concentrating on that game, Gabriel and Saliba, when they wake up, they're seeing one face, and that is that big man in front of us there. Occupied is stopping him playing.
And they did that last time around. One shot on target only for Manchester City in the game that we just saw, a goalless draw. Gabriel, Saliba, that partnership, once you get past it, then you've also got David Raya to beat, and he's proving difficult to beat at the moment. So are we thinking that Arsenal will do something similar to what they did at Spurs, which is just defend, let the opponents have the ball, try and hit on the counter?
Yeah, I think that's what they will do, because, listen, nobody goes to City and wins. No one has won there since November 2022 when Brentford were the winners in any competition. And in the press conference today, Pep Guardiola was saying the margins were so small last season that if you want to retain the title, you have to be winning. You have to be invincible at home, basically. And that's what they do at the moment. What I do have a sneaking feeling for is Raheem Sterling, because if you look at that forward line of Arsenal, Martinelli at the moment, 15 goals 2 seasons ago, only 6 goals last season, doesn't look at it this time around. Big chance in midweek in the Champions League. Couldn't take that opportunity. Saka looked out of sorts in midweek. I don't know about you, but he just didn't quite look fit. And Gabriel Jesus, we know how hard he works, but the goal output from him is not good enough at the moment. So I wonder if there is a role, whether it's from the start or maybe as a second half impact substitute for Sterling to play in a game that he'll be bang up for,
Yeah.
because he's going back to the club where he won 4 Premier League titles, and he does have that experience of being able to be the difference in the biggest games.
Yeah, he would worry me if I was Pep Guardiola. As soon as I'm looking at that team sheet when it comes in, I do not want to see Raheem Sterling on there, because that is the Cinderella story, him coming back to Tottenham for his new club. He will, if he scores the winner against Man City, I said it last week when I saw him just before the game, I was saying, if you scored in this North London derby, you haven't got to do anything else. Yeah. You're done.
Just put your manager's hat on for a second. Would you start him?
I would, because I think Darren's absolutely right. I mean, Martinelli's just not firing. I think a lot of them, Saka, I would always have in the team on that right-hand side, because he can come in, he can win the game for Arsenal because he's so good. But they're all suffering at the moment. The offensive players are suffering because Odegaard's creativity in there. Havertz maybe come off a little bit deeper. You know, find the ball. I think Raheem's clever. He knows when to move off the line from out to in runs. It can be a real threat in behind, because we know when Man City, when they attack with numbers. They vacate in fullback areas, and I think Raheem can really exploit him down the left-hand side. I would start him.
Yeah, just have a question about the midfield, because we're talking a lot about Odegaard. And on the other hand, the midfield maestro for Manchester City also went off injured in midweek, and we're expecting him to miss out. How do they reshuffle?
It doesn't matter for them, does it? I mean, time and time again, we see that. We saw it last year. He missed so much football, didn't he, De Bruyne? Yeah. We saw Haaland miss so much football. Yeah. But like I said at the beginning, we talked about it last week, didn't we? We talked about if Arsenal are going to win the league, they have to go to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and take maximum points. They've ticked that box. They have to go to the Etihad and take maximum points if they want to win the Premier League without their 2 best players. And that's exactly what Man City did last year. De Bruyne will be a huge miss, but they'll be able to cope.
Darren?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think last season, De Bruyne hardly played between the start of the season and Christmas. He was out for 4 or 5 months, and as you were saying about Haaland, he missed a couple of months around about Christmas and another few weeks around about March, April as well. I think as far as City are concerned, they've got people who can step into the breach. Bernardo Silva could play there. Phil Foden could play there. He's fresh. Guardiola was talking in the press conference today about him being back and fresh and available and ready. Gundogan can play there as well. And the thing about City is their players are all so intelligent. Yeah. They all do have that selflessness. They can bring other people into the game. They're so fluid. If they don't have a striker, they can win the league. If they don't have a De Bruyne, they can win the league. I think as far as Arsenal are concerned, they concern me more than City, because Arsenal, I just don't know where their goals are going to come from. At the moment, before this season, they scored, I think it was 179 goals in the past 2 seasons. And all that debate about they should have a striker, they scored 179 goals in all competitions. It was a fantastic number. But this time around, it just looks as though that front line is a little bit out of sorts, and that's why, even if De Bruyne doesn't play, I would back City to be able to find a way to get the goals, to get the 3 points.
You probably need another trip to Dubai, Arsenal, because at the moment, set pieces are looking like their most dangerous way of scoring. We saw that in the North London derby. How much of a boost is that for them going into the City game, or do you think it's just been a big week of away games, and so it doesn't really matter?
Well, when you're not fluid going forward, I think there was not a lot in this game, really. I thought Tottenham started brilliantly, on the front foot. I thought, hold on, they're going to be able to open them up. But the more and more I was at the game, and when I was watching it, I was thinking they're so comfortable just defending their box, and they're just waiting for one opportunity, and that opportunity come from a set place. I mean, the set-piece coach was up in that technical area even more than Mikel Arteta. He was front and central. So, for their point of view, they wanted front and central in the attacking half at the weekend, because you never know. Set-pieces are so important. It only takes one and you get the maximum points. It's exactly what they did in the North London derby, and they'll be hoping it can happen again at the weekend.
Tim's waiting for the day when the fitness coaches, conditioning coaches are going to be patrolling the touchline, right?
Well, I put it like this. It's all, the manager's head is always on the block. You never see a set-piece coach on the back of the paper and him getting blamed. You never see a set-piece, a sports scientist on the back of the paper leaving the club and getting blamed. It's always the manager's fault. So why should they take any credit?
Absolutely.
OK, Tim, since you're on a roll, we're going to turn attention to your former club, Tottenham.
I tell you what, you've been watching too much Godfather.
Skills,
Arsenal, then.
Yeah.
with a win in the North London derby. Paul Merson described it in the UK coverage as very old school Arsenal, a typical kind of 1-0 to the Arsenal, quite controlled, just doing enough, just getting the 3 points.
Yeah, but it was what's happened now and what Mikel has created is as a side now that I was confident going there, obviously without Erdegaard, without Rice, you know, it's always going to be more difficult. I was confident going there from our defensive point of view. So knowing that you're going to have Partey and Jorginho in front, and obviously we're expecting more from Tottenham, but going forward, I was always worried about how we're going to link and without Erdegaard to get the goal. But I was never worried about them scoring. That was the main thing, and that is the best thing about that result, because it's the kind of result you have to go away and get when you consider what Arsenal are trying to achieve this season. So it was brilliant. 1-0 to Arsenal in a game where you just had to be resilient.
Yeah, was it impressive from Arsenal, or do we have to kind of factor in the Spurs performance to that as well?
I think it was impressive, Ellie, because I messaged you, didn't I? I was like, I'm a bit worried about like the fluidity of that midfield, but you know, I hate to say, last season when City won it, they had big players out. So the question mark before the game for Arsenal was, OK, you've got big players out now, so can you do it? And against a rival with the magnitude of the game. So actually, for me, off the back of the international break, I think that's a massive, massive tick. And I'm like, fair play to them. Like, they've answered everything. And look, we know how good defensively they are, that clean sheets wins your titles, goals win your games. And if you stay in the game, there'll be a moment, and they took their moment. But I thought that was a really, really impressive performance. And it might not be impressive with the fluidity, but it was job done, mentality, move on.
Yeah, and particularly, as you say, after the international break, because we saw in a lot of other games that teams felt like they were really out of their rhythm. And with Arsenal even missing players, it didn't look like that had gone. There was a structure that they could go back to.
Wright said it best. You come up against this Arsenal team, they're so big, they're so strong, they compact well, they defend as a team well. You're looking at Timber, I think it's his 7th competitive fixture for Arsenal. It's like a new signing. He slotted in so well. I think Havertz's work was underrated in that game, dropping in to win the aerial duels. It's very hard to score goals against Arsenal, and they always say that defence wins championships, right? It's going the other way where you thought, where's the goal going to come? And when you score set pieces whenever you want to, I mean, you've always got a trick up your sleeve, especially against a Spurs side who can't seem to deal with set pieces, or Vicario just can't seem to get high ball distribution. So executed really well. I think if you look at their game last season against Spurs, same thing. Didn't need a lot of possession, still won the game. And without your captain as well, it's often one of those games, it's about what team wants it more. I mean, Gabriel's got another man of the match performance against Spurs. Saliba, you could see the celebrations. They just wanted it more. It means more to them. I mean, you know.
It's still strange to look at that and see Arsenal in an away kit. My daughter was watching. She said they look like they've been sponsored by Nando's with the coloured stripes on their shoulders. But they weren't chicken.
You know what, Kels? It was from a Tottenham Arsenal point of view in the derby and what it means for us to not wear the red and white kit, for something to do with too much white in the kit. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah.
I just found that's just really being finicky.
I mean, the set piece record is better. It's better to concentrate on than the kit that I talked all over with while referring to the kit in that. But yeah, 24 goals from set pieces is so impressive.
And Gabriel as well, someone again Tottenham should have known. He's got, what is it, 15 goals? He's got something like 15 goals. He's the most goals scored by a defender in the 5 leagues. And, you know, with the delivery of Saka, I think Saka's been involved in all of Arsenal's goals that they've scored this season.
First player ever to get 4 assists in consecutive games in Premier League.
Honestly, it's just... He's so good, so good. And to know that you can depend on the set pieces like that in a game like that. I think I said when we done the show yesterday, match day, like I thought it was a must-game win. And I know it's very... I thought it was a must-game win at this stage.
No, go again.
What did I say?
Put it the other way around. Is that what you meant?
A must-game win.
A must-win game. A must-win game. A must-game win. Simply because of the drop point, because of City, knowing how this road is, chasing City, and it's a game that they had to win, even though it's an away game and you want to try and get something. So they had to win it because then you got Man City coming. It's a great momentum game, I think.
Do you know what I liked in particular? I think when you think of the last game against Brighton, everyone can have their opinions on the Declan Rice situation. I thought it was a bit, finicky. But it was getting caught out by the dark arts. In this era of CCTV, there's not much you can get away with.
I love that description of VAR as CCTV.
Anything.
Big Brother is watching.
Gabriel does so well. It's the slightest push, but it creates enough separation against a very good centre-half in Romero, who's very physically aggressive. Enough separation, bullet header. And the game's
People were saying that was a foul. What do you think?
I think he's got to be stronger. I think the set pieces of Arsenal, you could talk about the delivery, which is always spot on, but a lot of the time it's because Arsenal want it more.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to power through, and if you're going to leave him 1v1 and not be strong about it, I just think the mentality of this is a set piece, we score, we just run over people in there and we don't care.
I mean, that's not new from Arsenal. This is quite a long-term thing where teams have come away slightly aggrieved at the physicality and the.
But if you leave him 1v1 though, Kel, and you are weak, and he's also the wrong side of him, you can't see him at any point. And listening to Martin Keown about it, and he's just like, well, you can't see the play, you've got no chance. But if you leave him 1v1 and he's running onto it, like anyone in the zone standing will never have a chance. He's powerful, he's athletic, he's going onto it. Like, so it is about a delivery, but they want it more.
And Ricardio's got to come out for that, surely.
You know what? When you look at it's like 4 yards, he needs a bit more protection so as he can start coming out and maybe punching something like that or catching it. Or you know how easily a goalkeeper will get a foul. And I think that they just got deeper. The ball was great.
Yeah.
So they've got to do more to protect him so he can at least come out and get a punch on that. It's 4 yards. It's 2 yards. It's 4 yards.
The other thing with Will is he's, as you say, he's a very physical player in terms of his approach to the opposition, but not necessarily robust when it comes back his way.
Yeah, it's always interesting when you see two centre-halves going up against each other. And it's very uncharacteristic for Romero not to win that sort of duel. And even the way he gets pushed, the separation, he moves
massive.
quite a bit. Yeah, he moves quite away. It's like Gabriel's
like
really
he's not ready.
Exactly, and that's where it comes to, I think, mentality and really wanting it more. You said it perfectly. Anytime it's a set piece, Arsenal willing to fly through whoever they need to get through.
It's very reminiscent of Tony Adams' attack. The ball in the opposing box. Very, very reminiscent. Wouldn't surprise me if he's seen videos.
You know, with that though, right? Obviously, the delivery has to be spot on. Was just Tony just like, again, was it just the mentality, or is he naturally good at it, or is it just I'm going to win it?
No, he's naturally good at it. He's worked a lot at it because even in training, when we used to be training and we're doing the set pieces, he's still doing the moves what he would do on the Saturday to get the separation, to get the space, to really attack it. Same with Andy Linnigan. Andy Linnigan, the way George Graham especially wanted him to attack it was really coming in real with power. That last foot is real. You're right at the edge of your power to blast through everything. And that's what it looked like with him yesterday. And especially Romero, who is he's quite robust in the tackle and everything. It was so easy. He's not even looking. It was a really, really easy goal to score from Arsenal's point of view and a terrible one to give away from Tottenham's point of view.
Do you think there's a case for saying that Arsenal have marginally improved from last season in the sense that they can be missing players? In the sense, you know, I mean, I know that they score from set pieces and that is a long running thing, but in terms of I don't know, maybe the options that they have.
I think what he's probably looking at now, Kels, is that the defence is so solid and he could put a team in. And again, we do have to legislate for Tottenham and how poor they were, passing in positions where we didn't even need to go and close them. It was just it was, for want of a better word. You know, I think that what Arsenal have done, they've built so well on the defence and he's so confident in what they can do offensively, even without the so-called striker, what we need. I think that now there's a confidence in the team that they can go somewhere and they're resolute enough to get the result and then up to the forward players to get that important goal or that important assist. And then without two players of that magnitude, arguably our two best, apart from Saka and Saliba, you think that, yes, there might be something that they're worried about. It didn't look like it at all. It looked like a very, very efficient game for Arsenal yesterday.
There's a bit of a concern as we look ahead to Arsenal's next few fixtures, and obviously that game against Manchester City is going to be absolutely huge, and that's where maybe we'll see where the teams have progressed to from last season. You know, we probably should be using his non-anglicised pronunciation, which is Haaland, because every week it is an absolute haul of goals for him. Like, he's broken enough. I can't believe I had to explain that. Jokes aren't funny if you have to explain them. I need to remember that. But look, every week, it's so normal. It's just so... But do you know what, Maya, we were just talking about this when we were in the break. There's a happiness about his play this season that seems to have been as much... Like, he's always hit the targets and exceeded the targets, and he's now scored more goals than he's got Premier League appearances. It's over a goal a game. It's 72 in 70 in the Premier League. But this one, he feels like he's enjoying it, whereas before it felt like he was just going through the motions almost.
It feels almost personal. Like, at times last season, there was a lot of talk in Haaland's name about, you know, touches in the game, being ineffective. Yeah. He looks like he's got this, like, chip and shoulder, like, oh, breaking records wasn't enough, so now I'm going to do it in different ways. Now I'm going to score hat-tricks every week. Like, the performance level has stepped up, and it's crazy to say that someone that's breaking records can even go further, but the touch looks better. Yes. The finishes look better. The little bits of IQ that's adapted the second goal, the way he holds off Pinnock, it's just so class. He feels like he's in his own element.
He is. He is Kelsen, and he's, you know, the rest in the summer.
As I was going to say,
it does help Kaz. Good,
100%. No, I was just going to say he's rested, isn't he?
That's he looks like somebody who's fresh, and he just looks perfect at the moment with what he's doing. His goal there, the turn, the instant turn for the first goal, the right foot shot. You know, it's not luck being in the right place. It's just his efficiency now. His touch, once he bumped Pinnock out the way, the next touch to set up the finish. All these finishes he's going in, he's in total control, and that is somebody who is just like really bubbling along really nicely at the minute. I was doing the show, I've done the show with Al yesterday, and Al knows.
Alan Shearer.
Yeah, Alan Shearer. He knows that. He's coming. He's coming. It's like Thanos. Thanos, he's coming.
It's scary, though, because, I mean, we're talking about a situation where a player can reach 100 Premier League goals in 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, and for club and country, he's way ahead of where Messi and Ronaldo were at his age, and his country doesn't even qualify for international tournaments. So he's doing all that.
At some stage, you know, because remember he's got Martin Ødegaard, arguably two great players. You know, so questions got to be asked about what's happening in Norway at the minute, because
they're expanding. They're expanding it, aren't they? So there's going to be more teams in.
Well, you hope so, but at the same time, you have to have a set of players that know, right, these two are it. You need to build a team around them now that just, like, get it in respect of their resolute they're going to be, get the ball to him, then to him, you're probably going to qualify for more if they understand the plan.
It's interesting on the rest and how much that's contributed to the fact that he's got 9 goals in his first 4 games. I mean, Wayne Rooney got, you know, next with 8. Costa was 7, Aguero was 6. I mean, these blistering starts to the season can happen. What we know, the difference with Haaland is that he picks up from here and he keeps it going all the way through to the end of the season. But the rest is important because it was rest from competitive football, but he doesn't look like he's been, you know, sitting back, eating takeaways and kind of having the occasional jog around the park.
He drinks like pure milk, doesn't he? Yeah. Like literally straight from the cow, everything. He's like really meticulous. He's just like... And there's something about the carrots as well that I've never quite got to the bottom of. He has like a Rudolph diet,
he's
like
on some
milk and carrots.
He's on some Ivan Drago kind of diet and fitness plan. Because when you look and listen to... When we look at what Ronaldo does for his preparation, we've got somebody who's, 23, who's in that mode, in his headspace, in how he's preparing, like you're saying, what he's drinking, what he's eating. Even I've heard about his sleep. Everything he does is to perfect what's going to prepare him for a game. I admire that. I really, really do. He's getting the very best out of himself.
Yeah. The only thing that might, because when you looked at him from Dortmund, he did get injured a lot because he was doing the sprints. I think I spoke about this like last season, that a lot of people say he doesn't really get involved in the game a lot. But for me, that gives him career longevity. The only thing that in terms of records and scoring might be if City changed styles and expected him to be more explosive, like a sprint, like he was at Dortmund. And then I can see maybe him having more time out injured. But the way City play and he can just chill and burst in, he has career longevity with that. So then it's like, he could smash the records comfortably just off of that as well.
Yeah, he almost plays now in the way that players do when they're coming to the end of their career and they're sort of managing themselves. He's gone in. He's gone in early with that. Look, despite the fact that Manchester City took all 3 points, Pep Guardiola was full of praise for Thomas Frank, his opposite number, and he talked about Frank after the game. He said he's a big fan of Brentford. I can't remember in 8 or 9 years having a team that played the way that they played. And not only did he talk about the way that the team set up, he said he was particularly a fan of Thomas Frank. It's a question of time. He's one of the best. It's going to happen in terms of a move to, let's say, a bigger club. And look, Thomas Frank has made no secret of the fact that he is ambitious. He will tell anyone who wants to listen, I want to move on to a club that is challenging for trophies. But he's been able to hone his skills, certainly in terms of the Premier League at Brentford, which seems to be the perfect environment for him. And look, Guardiola often praises teams either before the match, just before they spank them 4-0, or he praises teams afterwards when Manchester City have had a great game. But this feels sincere.
You know what? It does feel sincere because Pep's been there long enough now and he's gone up against Brentford and Brentford have beaten them a couple of times in the past in the way that they set up. And all Pep's saying there with what he said is now, listen, he's the real deal, this guy, his team, from back, midfield to front. The problems that whether they're pressing you, whether they're low blocking you, whether they're mid blocking you, whether they're going to play on the counter, whatever they're going to do, it's done to the T. You know, he said last year they had Tony, they'd maybe knock it up long to him. This time now they've got Vissa and Mbuemo who can make runs, come in, play short, go long. He says they've got everything. We're talking about a man. He was linked in the Man United talks, in the Liverpool talks, and when Pep says that, he's going places, or he can't see him. I can't see him staying there for too much longer because Brentford have improved every season I've seen them. Every season I've seen them, and it's because of him.
And struggled a little bit last time around, but there were obviously key injuries, and Tony was out for such a long time, and then wasn't the same player when he
going. I can see a big move for him.
Yeah, but it could potentially happen. He is a manager who's been really impressive. He talks very well as well. So I would imagine these comments from Pep Guardiola will be very warmly received by Thomas Frank.
It's mad though that you know all that, but you have to get a Pep endorsement for someone to be like, we should get him. Like I get that, but you should recognise that without. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Do you think that will help though if he does get the big move that he's spoken about and that Guardiola's now speaking about? Do you think that the Pep endorsement will help him in a dressing room when he goes into it? Because players can be, well, he's been at Brentford, so if he goes to, I don't know, a Manchester United, for example, and players think, I don't really know who this guy is. But if he's got the Pep endorsement, does that help him?
Well, I'm not saying you can't ignore Arteta, you can't ignore Maresca, you can't ignore company. They've all come through, even a Motta of a Juve, he was with Arteta at Barcelona, but there's got to be something in it. But my point is, shouldn't teams already know, he shouldn't have to have an endorsement. We know he's really good.
Yeah, you know that back in the day, Sir Alex would have given endorsement. It does kind of give you that last little, OK, I'll throw the dice on someone like him. I think, Mourinho does it, Pep does it, Sir Alex does it, they all done it. I'm sure Arsene Wenger does it. They give that little endorsement to somebody they think is ready to go to the next stage.
And Mayo, I thought the point that Wrighty made about the flexibility of Thomas Frank was an interesting one as well, because often when managers succeed at teams who aren't necessarily challenging for trophies, it's because they are wedded to a certain way of playing. Their way of advertising themselves to the, in inverted commas, bigger clubs is that they say, I play this kind of football and this is what I do. Thomas Frank isn't. He does have a way he wants to play, but he isn't wedded to it. He seems quite flexible within that.
He's not. I think the biggest credit you can give to him is that he has made people forget that Brentford are typically a selling club. They buy assets to sell them on. It's what they've done with Tony. It's what they do with all of their big signings, Watkins. He plays in a certain way that people come through and out those doors and you don't really realise. You don't really ever talk about the fact that they've not got a high wage bill and that he has these constraints because he maximises out that team so well. And that's credit to him and his staff. I think when Tony was going, a lot of people quietly said, well, I've seen Mbuemo, I've seen Missa, they've still got enough to mix and match.
Shada as well.
And they've done it so far. And I think in the Premier League, when you're looking at managers that have consistently showed up and gone through rough patches and overcome them, he's definitely on that list of managers that you would look at and say he could potentially go into a big role.
And the thing is, Kels, you just feel like he's made for bigger. And he's got 2 first names as well. Yeah. There's something about his name that makes me feel there's more for his name in itself.
Thomas Frank or Frank Thomas. Either way, it works.
Thomas Frank. It sounds like he should be.
That's why he's flexible.
Yes.
He all starts with his name, doesn't it? Yeah. Listen, while we're singing Brentford's praises, they did fall to defeat by Manchester City. That'll happen to a lot of teams this season. Next up for them, it's Arsenal. That's a huge game next weekend, isn't it?
Because I'm looking forward to it as well, because I'm looking forward to the gap, because I know that Gabriel, and Saliba are already revving up. They're revving up. They're getting all the engine ready to go, because he's in top form, Haaland, and so are they. And Arsenal know it's a game. I think you have to beat City. If you're going to you have to beat them. I'm not saying you have to beat them twice, but you have to beat these guys at least once. And, I think I'm looking forward to the game simply because I think we're in a perfect headspace to take on City at next place.
Last season, Arsenal were really, defensive, weren't they? Do you think it'll do the same again?
I hope not, because it won't be a good shout. I hope... No, we have to go there to beat them.
There is the firepower, though, to be able to do it. We're going to have to talk about that after we've seen the game itself.
Yeah, and then you'll see this. Remember this, everyone.
Remember this. You said, don't be cautious. Absolutely go for it, and there's an opportunity there for Arsenal. We'll see if that prediction is right at the same time next week. See you then. Bye-bye.